Brown says this was a big part of the family falling apart. Sister Wives star Robyn Brown explained how her difficult relationships with former sister wives Christine Brown, Janelle Brown and Meri Brown contributed to their family's divide. Robyn Brown has some regrets when it comes to her former sister wives. Looking back at the complicated dynamic she shared with Christine Brown, Janelle Brown and Meri Brown after she wed family patriarch Kody Brown in 2010. She revealed the sad, fundamental issues in their relationships that led to the family's split. "I felt like when the family was together, there was unfair fighting that was happening," Robyn said in a confessional during the April 20th episode of Sister Wives. "Hitting below the belt, jumping to conclusions, name-calling. That is a big part of the family falling apart. There was just so little trust with each other." The 46-year-old, who shares kids Dayton, 25, Aurora, 23, Brianna, 21, Solomon, 13, and Ariella, 9, with Kody, couldn't quite understand why there was so much jealousy in their home. As she put it, "If you're sitting there constantly using that scoreboard against each other, what are you? Enemies?" In fact, Robyn, whose plural marriage to Kody became monogamous within the last few years as Christine, Janelle and Meri announced their separations from the dad of 18, blames her strained relationship with her ex-sister wives as the reason why none of the Brown kids joined the Mormon church. Most recently, Aurora was baptized at a Pentecostal Christian church last May. "I do feel like we failed," she admitted. "We weren't working on our jealousy as much as we should have been. I feel like everybody was looking out for themselves rather than like, okay, how can we build up this group and how can we make a bigger, better whole? I feel like we weren't including God enough," she continued. "This is such a complicated, challenging way of life. You have to include God. There were a lot of things that I saw that I'm like, we're screwing up here." For Christine, Robyn's dynamic with Kody, dad to her kids Aspen, 30, Meri, 28, Payden, 26, Gwendolyn, 23, Isabel, 21 and Truly, 14, was definitely a point of jealousy. "No wonder I was constantly wondering and constantly insecure, because as much as I was comparing, he was also comparing all the time," recalled Christine, who married David Woolley in 2023, 2 years after announcing her split from Kody. "Robyn was up on this pedestal and the rest of us were just lacking. I felt like I was lacking in that relationship." She admitted that her insecurity led to speculations about how Kody treated Robyn versus the other wives. "I felt like Robyn had a better couch," she explained. "I felt like she had better dishes, and better decorations and like so many things. In comparison, the 52-year-old felt she was given scraps of time and scraps of stuff." But Kody, 56, pushed back on the idea that Robyn was the favorite wife, noting, "When a relationship is united, you don't tend to keep scores much because you've got a cloak of charity to put over this person that you love." Read on for more bombshells from the current season of Sister Wives. Meri says Kody gave her hope for their marriage. Kody Brown insisted he was ready to divide himself from first wife Meri Brown shortly after their 1990 vows. "But he led me to believe that he would work on things by saying, 'Oh Meri, when we move to Flagstaff, this will be a good time to have a new beginning for us,'" Meri shared in the September 15th premiere, referencing their 2018 move. "Like he led me to believe those things. This is what he's done for many, many years." Her main gripe, she shared, is his lack of communication and how he really felt and what he really wanted or what he really didn't want and the story that he's been telling for all these years. And while Kody acknowledged that there may have been mixed messages, it was only because as he started to work on things, "I'm like, why would I do this?" he explained. I would not court and date her now. Either way, Meri's friends were thrilled when she finally pulled the plug in early 2023. They're like, okay, we're here for you, we're supporting you. And it's about damn time, she confessed. Blinders off. She now feels that he had been trying to get her to walk away for years by insisting he didn't love her, because if he can push me out and I leave, he's not the bad guy because he didn't walk away. Kody wanted to sell Coyote Pass years after the family purchased the 14-acre plot of land they planned to build on in Flagstaff, Aries. Kody confessed in the season premiere that he was ready to let the dream wither. Unable to build without paying off the full $820,000 price tag, which the family reportedly did in 2023. He told remaining wife Robyn Brown, "I'd almost rather scrap it or sell it and then just start again somewhere else." As for Robyn, "I can't talk about that," she responded. "That is so not where I'm at." Janelle left Kody for this reason, while second wife Janelle Brown previously told E! News, "We just kind of started to grow apart. Ultimately it was Kody's lapses as a parent to some of their kids that pushed her to leave. The big spark for me was when his relationship broke down with my children, and he didn't seem like he would move heaven and earth to fix it," explained the mom to Logan Brown, Madison Brown Brush, Hunter Brown, Garrison Brown, Gabriel Brown and Savannah Brown. "And I thought, okay, that was what was really holding me here." Even when Kody broached the idea of reconciling in the November 3rd episode, it was a non-negotiable for Janelle. "I don't know how I would ever reconcile with him and have him not have a relationship with my kids," she said. "No. I'm going to always choose my kids." That was the explanation Kody gave for not working harder to mend the rifts he was experiencing with several of his adult children. "I don't fit in the family anymore," he griped in the September 15th episode, noting he was still fully married to Robyn and parenting their 5 kids together: Dayton Brown, Aurora Brown, Brianna Brown, Solomon Brown and Ariella Brown, he added. "And then I have some relationship with some of the other kids and it's infrequent. And so I'm like, what do I do with all of this?" Barefaced truths. It was a quiet Sunday morning when Kody Brown looked across the kitchen table at Meri, sipping her coffee in silence. Sunlight filtered through the half-closed blinds, catching the golden flecks in her hair and casting soft shadows on her bare face. She had chosen not to wear makeup that day, feeling the freedom of it. Something simple, something real. But the quiet didn't last. "You know," Kody said, pushing his eggs around with a fork, "you really look better when you put on more makeup." Meri blinked. The comment was as casual as if he'd said the toast was overdone. She set her coffee down slowly. "Excuse me," she said, not sure if she'd misheard. He shrugged, not looking up from his plate. "I mean, you're fine like this, but when you really put yourself together, you know, eyes, lips, the whole thing, you look amazing. You should do that more often." There was a long pause. The kind that stretches out and fills a room, thick and uncomfortable. "I am put together, Kody," she said, voice steady. "I just didn't use mascara to prove it." He looked up finally, sensing the shift. "I didn't mean it in a bad way. I just think you shine more when you wear makeup. You look polished." "Polished like a car," she shot back before she could stop herself. He sighed. "Come on, Meri. Why do you always take things the wrong way?" But Meri knew exactly how she was taking it, and why. It wasn't about the makeup. Not really. It was about being seen, being valued, and more importantly, being accepted as she was, not as some improved version of herself to suit someone else's preferences. Kody went back to eating, oblivious to the storm brewing behind her calm expression. Later that day, Meri stood in front of the mirror, holding her eyeliner in one hand, the tube of mascara in the other. She stared at her reflection. The faint lines at the corners of her eyes, the freckles across her cheeks, the natural flush in her lips. She didn't dislike what she saw. In fact, she felt more herself than ever. But his words echoed. "You really look better when you put on more makeup." She set the makeup down. That afternoon, she went to the shared family living room, where Christine was curled up with a book and Janelle was folding laundry. Robyn was off with the kids. Christine looked up. "You okay?" Meri hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" Christine nodded, setting her book aside. "Does Kody ever make comments about how you look without makeup?" Christine let out a dry laugh. "Girl, that man once told me I looked tired because I skipped foundation. I was just done with it." Janelle added, "He told me once that I looked refreshed after I put makeup on. I hadn't slept in 2 days. So, no, he doesn't really know what he's saying. He just thinks he does." Meri let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. It felt good to not feel alone in this. "But it still stings," Meri said quietly. Christine nodded. "It does. Because it makes you feel like your face, your actual face, isn't enough." That night, when Kody came into the bedroom they still occasionally shared, he paused at the door. Meri sat on the bed, still bare-faced, wearing her coziest sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun. A book in her lap, calm but deliberate. "You're still not wearing makeup?" he asked, puzzled. "No," she said. "I decided I don't need to." He furrowed his brow. "I just think you look better. I heard you the first time, Kody," she cut in, not harshly, but firmly. "But here's the thing. You don't have to find me beautiful today. Because I do. And I'm done shaping myself to fit into someone else's expectations of what beauty is." Kody opened his mouth to speak, but she raised her hand. "Look," she said. "I've spent years trying to look the way you wanted, to be what you wanted. But I've realized I've been losing myself in the process. And now? I'm just trying to find that woman again, the one who existed before all of this." He stared at her, confused, maybe even a little afraid. Not because she was yelling, but because she wasn't. This wasn't rage. This was resolve. "I'm not angry," she added, almost gently. "I'm just tired of disappearing." There was a long silence. Kody turned and left the room. Meri sat quietly for a while, staring at the door. Then she turned back to her book, flipping the page, her fingers steady. In the days that followed, she wore what she felt like wearing. Some days she put on makeup. Some days she didn't. But it was always her choice, never someone else's suggestion. She began to walk differently. Not with arrogance, but with certainty. And the more she embraced her own reflection, the more invisible Kody's opinions became. Not because they didn't hurt, but because they no longer held power. One evening, as she stepped outside to catch the sunset, she caught a glimpse of herself in the window's reflection. No lipstick, no eyeliner, just her. Whole, present, beautiful. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled. Not because someone told her she looked good, but because she knew it for herself. The fork in the desert road. The desert morning had a certain kind of stillness, one that whispered of change, even before anyone dared to speak it out loud. Janelle Brown stood on her porch, coffee in hand, eyes scanning the dusty expanse stretching beyond her Flagstaff home. The sunrise painted streaks of gold across the sky, but her thoughts were cloudy. The cameras hadn't started rolling yet. They'd be there in an hour, asking questions, poking at old wounds. After more than a decade on Sister Wives, she knew the rhythm. Smile. Share. Stir the pot. But this time, her heart wasn't in it. She'd felt it coming, like a low hum beneath the surface of her days. Kody's attention drifted further away. The family that once felt like a sprawling, chaotic village now seemed more like a collection of distant islands, connected by the thinnest of bridges. Last week, she'd sat across from him during filming and heard him say, "I don't know if this lifestyle works anymore." The words stung, but they weren't new. What shocked her was that she didn't feel the urge to fight back. Not anymore. That night, she didn't cry. She packed a bag, not to leave yet, just to see how it felt. Now, her phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. "Mom, you okay? Want me to bring bagels later?" Janelle smiled. Her kids were her anchor. They always had been. She'd spent years putting her needs on hold, adapting, compromising, believing that plural marriage was her calling. But lately, she'd been asking herself questions. Quiet ones. That echoed loud in the dark. Who am I outside of this show? Outside of this family? Christine had found her wings. Watching her walk away hadn't felt like betrayal. It had felt like a blueprint. The production crew pulled into the driveway, breaking the silence. She waved to them with a practiced calm, but inside, her mind was somewhere else. Back when the show first aired, she had dreams of showing the world that love could look different, and still be whole. But the cracks were impossible to hide now. The audience wasn't blind. And maybe, neither was she anymore. Later, during a confessional, the producer asked, "So, Janelle, where do you see yourself in a year?" She hesitated. Then, with a steady breath, she said, "I'm not sure. But I think I'm ready to find out." The camera blinked its red eye at her. A beat passed. She didn't fill it with fake optimism or polite vagueness. Just the truth. When filming wrapped for the day, she sat in her room, pulled out the packed bag, and zipped it open. The clothes inside weren't dramatic. Just jeans, sweaters, her favorite hiking boots. But they felt like armor. A quiet declaration. She didn't know if she'd leave tomorrow, next month, or after the season wrapped. But she knew this: she was no longer filming a version of herself. She was finding the real one. And maybe, just maybe, it was time for Janelle Brown to step out of the spotlight and into her own story. During their drive, Christine, 53, spoke with David about the underlying expectations Kody, 56, once had for herself and fellow sister wives Janelle, Meri Brown and Robyn Brown. He liked makeup. "It was like, you had to always look nice," Christine said. "We'd go camping and Janelle and I would be sitting there busting our butts getting breakfast made, cleaning up the mess, and honestly, Robyn would be doing her makeup forever and doing our kids' hair and doing her hair and making sure everybody looked good. And then Kody would sit there and praise how they looked when we'd been sweating and slaving over the freaking food and cleaning up the campsite. I think it's probably the reason why I hated camping so bad," she explained. Christine, who was the first to leave Kody in 2021 before Janelle and Meri followed suit,